Welcome back, everybody, to the Draft Degenerates podcast. Dalton, Shane here. Jake, unfortunately, a little under the weather, probably for the same reason I haven't been feeling very good, which is not sleeping more than 4 hours a night while covering the NFL draft for two teams. But I at least am here. Dalton is here. We're going to give our three best, worst, and most confusing drafts from this draft cycle. It was a weird one in general, I think,
Yeah, that
Dalton.
that part was hard to nail down. It was a weird draft. It felt like I don't think there was a draft where I ever did more like film study. Yet there were so many names, like especially on day 2,
Yeah,
that I'm sitting there like, who is that?
right. And
Excuse me?
like we didn't watch 250 300 players like some like bigger analysts have
But
done.
we
And
were well over 150. I think
yeah,
we were probably both at least 175, if not.
I think my
close to
final
200.
total of guys I wrote up was 183 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a lot of players that I had gotten eyes on and actually had an opinion of, and there was a decent amount that didn't. Not only some of them that I had graded didn't get drafted, and then some of the ones that were drafted high I had never even like thought about watching in this class. Fascinating.
Yeah, random blocking tight ends.
The blocking
Coming
tight
off
end
the
is back,
board.
Dalton. That's what we learned. We're gonna have to grind blocking tight end tape for next year, I guess.
Apparently, because
the
dude from Texas A&M and then Klein from
Borkercher.
Yeah, Borkercher.
I at least knew Will Klein. I knew who that, or Marlon Klein. I knew who that was.
Huh.
I just didn't like do a write up of him.
Yeah,
but yeah, Nate Borkercher his name never appeared in anything I was ever looking at.
I never saw any like. And like, I feel like I was pretty plugged into a lot of different like draft stuff this year, and I never even like came across his name.
Yeah, so some interesting.
And he went what, second round?
56 or 57.
Yeah,
I think.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was a lot, and we'll get into all of it, especially some of the more interesting picks and interesting drafts. But again, so we'll be doing our three best, worst, and most confusing. Kind of, I'm sure we'll shout out some other teams as we go along, guys that, teams that didn't quite make our list, or, I have some backups in case Dalton still has one of mine, and vice versa, I'm sure. But in general, we'll get to talk about a good amount of the classes. And if your team didn't get talked about, it probably means you were pretty okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe not
one
great.
Team that I didn't put on my list that I do want to mention, I forgot to mention this pre-show when we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take one quick victory lap because I don't know when I'll get to talk about it again. I did nail one Raiders pick exactly, and two technically if you include Mendoza.
Well, we're not counting the first one.
But my last Raiders mock, I had in the 5th round at 175. I had Hezekiah Massis.
Nice.
So I felt vindicated there. When I usually have no idea what John Spytek's going to do, this year was no different. I found that Spytek and I live in very different
corners of draft evaluation.
Draft evaluation, is probably the best way to put it. I was going to say different realities.
Well, I think it's being a little bit aggressive, but yeah. I think that, I think in general, you guys do not view players quite the same way. Now, Spytek and I seem to value players in a similar way, which I don't know if that's good or bad yet. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's hard to evaluate last year's class because they didn't have a coaching staff.
Right. Or they had the facsimile of one. Which maybe isn't good enough. But
I also forgot to ask you pre-show, Shane, how are you warming? Are you warming up at all on the Steelers draft?
So I think I don't really mind a lot of the selections in a vacuum. The one that really stands out, Weegan that early, is just kind of preposterous to me, not to break out a big word. It's just way too early for a guy who I would be fascinated if he ever takes a snap on offense, frankly. And if he's not going to do that, you probably shouldn't take him in the 4th round. I don't care how good of a returner he may or may not be. But there's at least a world where that works out if they can find a way to incorporate him into the offense in some sort of fun way. And he's as good a returner as he was in college, which probably won't happen because he was kind of insane in college. So we'll see. That pick definitely stood out. And then the Drew Aller of it all.
Sorry. The Steelers seemed really determined to recreate Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, in the aggregate.
Yeah. In the aggregate.
Like we can build in the aggregate.
Between Weegan and Heinrich?
Eli Heinrich.
Heidenreich, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that pick, especially in the
I do
seventh
too.
round.
I think it's totally, especially that by that point, like take a shot and
Yeah.
see if you could figure out something for him to do. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but he'll do something. I bet for this team.
Yeah.
But no, I overall like they won't make any of my lists, and that's probably fine.
Yeah,
You
same.
know, I think that works out. It
But the
really,
Aller pick, are you okay with it now? Or
I mean,
yeah,
I'm not okay with it. I just knew they were going to do it at some point. Like they're going to take a quarterback in the third round. I didn't know which one it was going to be. There was worse ones they could have taken.
yeah,
So I guess like in the vacuum, I'm not that upset about it. I think the order of some of the stuff, like I wish they would have taken because I like Pregnon a lot more than Dunker. If they would have taken Pregnon at 76 and then a quarterback at like 96 or whatever they took Dunker, that order would probably made me feel a little bit better. But that's kind of picking like you're kind of nitpicking at that point. Like it's not really that big of a difference. So
the league seemed low on Pregnon.
I know, which I think is probably just comes down to the fact that he's older and maybe not the most upside. But I think you're getting a really good starting guard like day one and then probably for like 7 to 8 years, which I would take in the top 50 at least personally. But I also understand in a draft like this, you probably are chasing whatever upside you can find first and then going from there. Um, but there is some
Yeah.
teams that definitely probably should have just taken him over the guys they took, and we'll probably talk about that at some point.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the moral of the story with this whole draft is that, and we talked about this a little bit on draft night.
Yeah.
The drafting is moving in a different direction in terms of the prospect pool, in terms of like you gotta like positional value, especially in this draft, was not really the thing. You couldn't really cling to that, or also like age was something you just had to kind of ignore to an extent. And
Yeah.
yet it felt like teams just prioritized traits, um, age, and positional value.
They still did
Like
it for the
all the
most part.
traditional, they did all the traditional things. They just prioritized those things. And now you did see some teams like overcorrect on that, I think, to an extent.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think everyone's just still figuring out how to draft in this new era where, yeah, it's just going to be weird because guys that play
Yeah.
high value positions are all going to be old because if they're not first round picks, they're going to make 5 to 10 million a year in college.
That's the thing, and, like, we'll stop getting the 25 and, like, mid-24-year-olds pretty soon, it should be, for the most part, but there's gonna be a lot of 23-year-old first-round picks, basically, at some point
Yeah.
because you kinda have to 23, early 24, like, that's just kinda gonna be a thing, I think. We'll see,
Also,
but
yeah. Also, speaking of like guys getting paid a lot in college, you'd think if guys are making a lot of money in college, right? They like, especially if you're making like Division 1 college quarterback money.
Mhm.
You know what you wouldn't have to do? Gamble.
Well, so the thing about that is I think when people who are in that situation gamble, it's not because they think they can make money doing it necessarily. I think it's because they have a problem,
Yeah, absolutely.
which
Yeah.
is the case when, of course, we're talking about Brendan Sorsby. Um, yeah, that's unfortunate. Um,
Yeah.
supplemental draft question mark
No, I think he'll just end
sit
up
out.
he'll end up at yeah, he'll end up at a G5 school in a year, and then he'll be a day 2 pick in the or he'll be an early day 3 pick in like the 2028 class
I
at
don't know if
25.
he'll. I don't know if he has the eligibility pass this year, and I don't think it count. Like I think it counts for this year if he's
He'll
suspended.
get a hardship waiver. They give those out like candy now
They'll give hardship waiver for someone they suspended for a year. You think?
because he's in
Because he
rehab. He's
well,
in rehab.
yeah, but I think they're going like the NCAA is going to suspend him. I think for a year, which makes me think they won't then turn around and give him a hardship waiver.
I think
You know what I'm saying? I could be wrong
I
about that,
think
but that's
yeah,
my
but
thought
if
process.
the end they might not at first, but then he'll just take him to court, and the courts have like been very like because he'll say it wasn't my fault. I was sick. I was
You could
dealing with
make that
mental health
argument.
issues, and the courts will because the courts have been ruling in favor on pretty much
Pretty much
everything.
everyone. Yeah, pretty much everything.
They always rule in favor of the players at this point. He'll get the extra.
It is
of the
funny
game.
that they're doing that because, like, I'm not even gonna sit here and say whether that's like they're correct in doing so or not, but it does tell you that the current rules are probably so bullshit that they're like, you know what? Actually, yeah, go ahead and do whatever you want because this doesn't make any sense to me, and
Well,
that's
yeah.
why there's gonna be changes coming because the NCAA is
I
probably a
mean,
farce.
how is some
So
70-year-old judge supposed to understand any of this?
yeah, he's also probably looking at this like this shit doesn't make any sense. These people are insane. Sure, go ahead have an extra year. Who gives a shit? And it's because
Yeah.
the NCAA is a farce. And also, maybe I'm also just mad at them today because we don't need a 76 fucking team
Oh
March
yeah, that
Madness.
happened today.
We don't need that shit. I promise you. We don't need that. We don't. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, the Sorsby of
Also,
it all is fascinating.
what
But
do you
yeah.
think of talking about the draft before we get into our grades here in a second? What do you think of the NFL one day to get rid of tanking, adopting the NBA's tanking rules that just got put in? The anti-tanking rules. I don't know if you saw them.
I did. Um for those of you who haven't, I would just go look it up. I'm not going to sit here and explain it. But basically, the long and short of it all is that the teams that are bad, just because they're bad and not necessarily because they're tanking, will just remain bad in perpetuity. And the teams will stop that were trying to be in the bottom three will stop doing that, but probably won't be in the top three ever because they're still bad. So
Yeah.
here we go, folks. We're just going to have the same amount of bad teams. It'll just be less on purpose.
Yeah, if you did that in the NFL, the Jets, Browns, and Cardinals would be cooked.
Yeah, they would just never have a chance because like they're just bad, folks. Like I don't mean I don't want to like rain on anybody's parade who's like, oh, the NFL is rigged and it's fixed and or they're tanking and some teams are just fucking bad, dude. Okay. The Jets were bad last year because they were the Jets. It wasn't because they were trying like Aaron Glenn wasn't trying to lose games. He didn't trade away his entire team at the deadline because they didn't trade away all their players because they were trying to tank. They were doing it because they needed assets because they knew the team was terrible and that's the only way getting out of it is the assets. They're not like these teams aren't really actually tanking. They're just not good at this. And a lot of the teams that are not good at it haven't been good at it for a long time. And they're going to probably keep being bad at it. That's really what it comes down to. Now in the NBA, they be tanking. I'm not going to deny that. Some of those teams are tanking. They're not trying to win any basketball games. But
Correct.
now they're just going to win 10 more basketball games forever. And I don't know if that's better. I don't think that it is.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you did it in the NFL, like there's a chance the Chiefs would have gotten the number 1 pick this year. And that's
Possibly.
terrifying.
Yeah, I don't want that. We don't need that. The NFL does it perfectly right. You are because especially in the NFL, I'm not saying NBA players aren't on the whole competitive and they're not trying their best all the time. There's no NFL team and group of 53 guys who aren't trying to win every game they play. It's not happening. You might just not be good enough to win 5 or 6 games, but you're going to try to win every game. That's not the issue in the NFL.
And tanking doesn't really help in the NFL because the number 1 pick isn't going to make usually that much more of a difference than the number 10 pick, or at least the likelihood of getting.
Yeah, in fact, it doesn't work a lot.
Yeah.
It's actually an alarmingly low hit rate considering it's the first pick. You get to pick any player. So it's a little different than the NBA, obviously, in that way, too.
Sometimes sitting at 15 just accidentally ends up getting you one of the best players in the draft.
Right, and we'll talk about that because I'm sure both of us have that team in our top 3.
They actually didn't make any of my lists.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I
barely
talk about them.
Barely. I had a tie. I had some ties that I had to break.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. That one alone is kind of we'll get into it, but let's actually start then. Don, I want to start with you. So give me your first team. It doesn't have to be necessarily the team you thought was your best overall class, but you can do it that way. But your first best class here.
Yeah, so I will give my best team because I only had 1 A. I had A+. Didn't have any A pluses in this convoluted methodology I did.
Okay.
For grading each team, and then I had a bunch of A minuses. I had like 5. I think I had like 5 or 6 A minuses, but I only had 1 A, one full blown A.
Like true A. Okay.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, correct. Yeah.
They just nailed it. I mean,
yeah.
Part of it was having a lot of assets, but they also like used those assets really well. I mean, moving back to 9, and then still getting the best offensive lineman in the draft, in my opinion. That was just an awesome pick with Fano at 9. Originally, I thought they were going to do that at 6, and moving back to 9 still worked out. And then they get Casey Concepcion at 24, another really good pick. And I mean, their wide receiver class needed completely overhauled, and they were not afraid to double dip there. And then they go Concepcion and Boston. Those were, I believe, my wide receivers 5 and 6 or 4. That might have even been 4 and 5.
That sounds
For me.
more right to me, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, Concepcion, or yeah, Boston was wide receiver 5, Concepcion was 4. So
Yeah.
to get 2 of the top 5 receivers in this class, I think on our consensus board they were both right around there as
Yeah.
well. That's just an awesome pick. And then bottom of the second round, which is exactly kind of where I had him. I know a lot of people like him even more than this. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, like those first 4 picks, they absolutely killed it. And then day 3, they also got some gems. Joe Royer, Parker Brailsford could definitely end up being like their long-term option at center. Austin Barber could start for them at tackle probably in the next year or 2.
Potentially.
And then, they got Taylor Green in the 6th round, which it might not work. It'll almost certainly not work out. But you could also argue that there's a shot he is the best quarterback in that. If there's any team where he could be the best quarterback on the roster, Green has a shot at it at least. Like if it all works out and if you really set him up for success, I think he's probably another year out. But I don't know, that was the value there was just awesome. I just thought they killed the whole draft.
Yeah, that is one of my teams, and specifically my top team as well. They took 4 players that all were the top 31 prospects for me. Right in a row. It's kind of hard to dismiss that as anything other than spectacular from my perspective, especially. Yeah. And of course, I'm a Steelers fan, so fuck the Browns, but also like nice going, I guess. It does paint the one thing that almost kept me from wanting to put them at the top here, and it's completely personal, is the fact that now I have to hope that the Browns can make Casey Concepcion look good because he was my number 15 player in the class. And I do worry a little bit about how they're going to actually put all this together. But it's certainly not because of a lack of talent. They have all the pieces required from this draft to definitely start kind of rebuilding this thing a little bit from the era that is now gone by. It just comes down to whether they can actually do it. But we're not evaluating their ability to actually do that. We're evaluating their drafting. So I will give them credit for that. I like the Taylor Green pick at that point because I have my questions about whether he can play quarterback in the NFL just in general, period. But they might have drafted like wide receiver 3. Worst case scenario, he's that much of a freak. He might just be able to do that for you potentially at some point.
Yeah.
So, if nothing else, you get an athlete in there that you could do some stuff with in the meantime. Certainly, the different types of body types in that quarterback room is hilarious. Like legitimately so funny. Look, like those 4 in a row. Like if you just stack them up against each other, one of the funniest lineups of a quarterback room of all time.
Yeah,
like insane stuff. But yeah, I'm not expecting him to do much of anything as a quarterback, but I do think he'll do something in the NFL. Even Carson Ryan that late, like I didn't get to him, but I did watch a little bit of him because there were some fans of his. He's definitely their type of like an H-back, like kind of do it all, like tight end types, like kind of just across the board. They added guys who all have a chance to do something for them, I think.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing is even you'd look at those first, 4 picks and it's really easy to love the class. But after that, you still get some guys that I think have a chance to play for them. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. My first team, then we'll talk about because I know it's different because we just addressed it that you don't have this team in your top 3. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, first of all, getting Ruben Bain at 15, hilarious. Jason Light is one of those guys who doesn't get enough credit for this, but the way he drafts too, him and Howie are not that dissimilar in the sense that they are just very like aware and just willing to let guys fall to them that they know teams aren't going to value as much. And they know how good a football player they are. And they're just like, okay, we'll just let them fall and we'll just take them because you guys aren't. Sure. And that's what happened with Ruben. Him going 15th, I thought he might fall outside the top 10. I thought that would happen for a myriad of reasons. But the fact that the Ravens, as much as I love Vega Ioane, right? The fact that the Ravens of all teams, who are also known for doing this shit, of like, oh, the top 5 talent who just didn't get drafted early for one reason or another fell to us, we're gonna take them. And they sort of like they didn't quite do that with Ioane. I did have him 8th on my board, but still really good value. But the fact they didn't take him and the Bucks got to just sit there and take Ruben Bain, kind of hilarious and very much a coup for the Buccaneers. That's where this all starts, right? Like you have to start there. And they kind of like Josiah Trotter was right around, like he was a little bit lower on my board than where they took him, but not that far off. Also, kind of a guy that I think fits them in particular, where he's definitely that downhill thumper type that I do think could eventually do something for you in coverage. Also, a slight win for me because I did have him a couple spots ahead of CJ Allen, who goes later than him. So that was kind of a win for me on a personal level. But either way, those two are pretty close to each other. Ted Hurst in the 3rd round. I mean, you needed a big body wide receiver on the outside with Mike Evans leaving and the guys you already have in the room. You got him. I don't know if he'll be 100% ready to play like right off the get go, but you have that type of guy in the room.
I don't know. I think he might be like with how developed a lot of his game is. I like
he could. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if they don't want to have to rely on him right away, like they might not force him in that position, but I think he could potentially do it. And even though this is also sort of a win for me, but I also feel bad when this is the case. Keontae Scott goes 116. Even I had him higher than that. Like this is still a value for me at that point. And he is their type of nickel. Like if there was a team that was going to draft Keontae Scott higher than he was taken and it work out, probably this team. They love to blitz their DBs, love the guys that are physical downhill guys. Like it gives them a ton of flexibility with their secondary. DeMonte Capehart, I didn't watch him, but I know a lot of people liked him as a rotational defensive lineman, so that's fine in the 5th round. Billy Schrouth, if he wasn't injured, probably goes a lot higher than this. So you have a guy that could potentially compete for a guard spot eventually. And then Bauer Sharp, didn't watch. He's another tight end in this class. So like I don't know anything about him because 50 of them went that I didn't know anything about. But again, that's a 6th round pick. All in all, like really hard to be upset with anything the Bucks did.
Yeah, I had an A- grade on them. And like honestly, like the only pick I felt was like a little bit of a reach was Trotter. I think they might have cracked my top 3 had you just flip flopped the Trotter and Hurst picks, honestly.
Yeah.
But they were right there for me. Like you mentioned, like Keontae Scott in the 4th round is just an absolute steal. That's the best, in my opinion. That's the best pure nickel in the class.
Right, yeah, you thought so, yeah.
And DeMonte Capehart, yeah, he has got kind of disappeared this year, like everybody on the Clemson team. But I mean,
pretty much everybody.
Summer scouting, he was getting like early day 2 buzz.
Yeah,
like early to mid day.
Really good athlete for what he is. So
yeah, so like I think that pick and that pick could end up being a pretty solid pick. I think if you can get one of those Clemson defensive linemen below where they were supposed to go, I think you're probably gonna get good value.
Yeah, so we'll see. But again, I really like that class. The Ruben Bain he's just exactly the type of player that the Tall Bulls loves, and I think he's going to be awesome for them. They're going to just unleash him in weird and crazy ways, and offensive linemen are not going to know what to do with that front. Like they're just simply not.
So the league screwed up.
I think so. Yeah.
For him,
they let Jason Light just be like, "Oh, you want to just let me get the guy?" It's like, "Oh no, his arms are a couple inches short, guys. We can't possibly draft him in the top 15." Oh, okay? I'll do it. Cool.
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for just handing me a pass rusher for really no reason other than because. Tampa Bay just does that, man. They just be doing that.
Great draft.
But no, great draft. Who's your next team up that you would want to shout out here for?
My next one is the New England Patriots.
Okay, I was wondering what direction we were going to ultimately go with that because they didn't make any of my lists, but not because I strongly disagree with you in any way, but I just wasn't sure if you were going to end up having them high. I kind of think I know why, but you go ahead and explain.
So, I mean, Lomu was my tackle 3. Getting him at 28 is just incredible. And also, like, I think a lot of teams, like, just overthought the whole, like, him as a pure left. I think part of it is a lot of teams just didn't need a pure left tackle or wanted more versatility at the position, which I still think he might be able to play right tackle.
You said he's been working on it, so we'll see.
Yeah. I do like the Patriots though. They didn't like they had the balls to make this pick. I know I did I literally clowned Vrabel for lying on the podium after the Super Bowl, saying that Will Campbell's their left tackle, and then taking what projects to be a pure left tackle. But it was absolutely the right move. I think the best thing for that team would be if Lomu can be the left tackle, and you can move Campbell to either right tackle or left guard. I think either of
Mhm.
those spots he'll be very, very good. So I think this makes their entire offensive line better. I thought that pick was awesome. And I mean, looking at some of the other picks, I mean, day two, getting Akis and Raritan, I mean, Akis I thought was really good value where they got him. I think they're going to be able to do some fun things with him coming off the edge.
Mhm.
And then Eli Raritan in the third
Your
round,
boy,
really
your
like that
boy.
pick. And it's also just what they needed at the
Yeah.
out of the position too. It allows them to split Hunter Henry out more. He doesn't really have to play in line at all anymore. Um, and then day three, some names like Demetrius Crownover, I thought was decent value at 196. He's a guy that definitely in this range, but I like that pick. Baron Morton is an interesting one in the seventh round. Could be a pretty solid backup, possibly. Yeah, and there's just some upside. I think Jam Miller could have some really good
My
upside as
boy
well.
Jam Miller. I
Yeah,
actually
I just really, I mean, for me, the day three picks are kind of whatever, but what they did with their first three picks was really, really awesome.
no, yeah, I don't dislike this class at all. They just kind of didn't quite do enough for me to put him in my top 3 or 4 classes for best, and certainly wasn't confusing to me in any way. So they didn't make that list either. But the Lomu pick for me, I do think, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure he was the best tackle left on the board for me, but he was
Oh
tackle
yeah,
6 for me. So he was still like kind of where they valued him is close to where I valued him at 35 on my board. Funnily enough, Gabe Akis was 55 on my personal board and was drafted 55th overall. So that's kind of funny. Take that for what you will. So it's literally exactly value. So you could argue like, yeah, perfect. Um, Eli Raritan, I wasn't as big of a fan of as you, but I think at that point still like don't have any problem with it whatsoever. So that doesn't hurt him at all. Kayron Prunty,
yeah.
it's a 5th round pick, but like who is that?
Who is that? Yeah, don't
Who
know.
is that man? I don't know him, but that's okay. Demetrius Crownover is a guy that I don't know whether or not I believe he's going to be able to be a tackle in the NFL in general, but he was 132 on my board, so I can't complain about the value there. Same
Yeah,
thing
no, I
with
like him as a guard
yeah,
more.
right, which either way, like he'll play probably some sort of role for them. Namdi Obiazor, didn't watch him. I did watch his teammate a little bit, Caleb Elam's Orr, but I didn't watch him very much. Baron Morton, okay, fine. It's a 7th round quarterback. I don't care. Jam Miller, though, getting drafted isn't really necessarily a win for me, but I did have him 145 on my board. I do think he has some juice and he's talented. Just banged up, and Alabama's run game was bad, kind of no matter who was back there, so it's kind of hard to say. And then didn't get to Quintavious Hutchins, but he was out of Boston College as an edge. So overall, really solid class, though. But I did like their class. The next team up for me, I hate to do it, but and it's funny because this could have been my number 2 team in terms of best classes, but there's one pick they made that they did end up making up for in my opinion, but it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But another team in my division, the Baltimore Ravens, I have as my third team here. Um, they just they sort of did the thing they always do. There was a couple picks, like I said, that I didn't love, and we'll get to them. But getting you want at 14 without having to do anything, we kind of expected that would be the case, but it's still just
Yeah,
like funny it happened, kind of. Like he's number 8 player on my board. He's a great player. I think he's going to be there for a very long time. Get Zion Young in the 2nd round, and we know that that's partially because he might be not the best guy on the planet, but the Ravens don't care about that clearly, based on their draft pick also in the 2nd round last year with Mike Green. So hopefully one of those two guys is at least a good football player while also maybe not being the best person on the planet. But I think Zion Young definitely should be at least a good player, if not a great player. Jacoby Lane in the 3rd round. Um, Yeah, it's not great. I kind of think he's like not playable right now as a rookie. But maybe they can get something out of him. I think he honestly probably should have went back to school. He has zero play strength as a wide receiver, and he's a big player. So it's kind of like you're not small enough to run away from everybody, and you're too big of a target to not get jammed into oblivion. So what are you going to do for a year and a half while you like stop being small while being 6'4"?
Yeah, but
But
he's young. I don't mind that one that much.
it's just the
I love
fact that
Brennan.
like if they didn't make the next pick, I
Yeah,
would have a lot of questions. But then they get Elijah Surratt in the with the 15th pick in the 4th round. I know Dalton is much higher on Surratt than a lot of people are. Him being available in the 4th round, even if you are like me who like views him as an inside player primarily at the next level because of his skill set, is asinine. It's just ridiculous. He
yeah,
is too good at the things he's good at, and I think they translate well to the inside for him to be going in the 4th round. How the Raiders didn't draft this man at some point, and honestly, if it wasn't for that, if the Raiders might have been one of my 3 favorite drafts if they wouldn't have done that and not prioritize getting a guy like this on their team. But the fact that they didn't do it when it was so easy to justify. I know there's like a lot of questions about who's going to play outside receiver for that team,
yeah. That's
but
kind of
like
why I didn't really have
ding
that
him
much
too
interest
much.
in him for the
Yeah,
Raiders
but it's
because
just
they have
easy.
2 other guys that do it,
Yeah, but it's
and they
easy to be
drafted
like,
another slot receiver.
Benson. I don't view as a slot receiver
Or
really.
all right, small, fast guy. They
Okay,
have a
that's
million of
fine.
them.
I think he's going to be like a replacement for Tucker's is like a designated deep threat long term. I think if I had to guess, at least that's what they're hoping for
But
with him,
just,
but
just,
probably not.
just actually keep a guy you drafted in Tucker.
Well, I mean, the current GM didn't draft him. I don't think so. They
This
don't
is
like to keep
change.
GMs don't like to keep players they didn't draft.
Yeah, but the problem is the Raiders have a new GM every 2 years.
Well, they don't right now. Okay, so let's see what happens.
I mean, this is only year 2 of Spy Tech.
I know. We'll get there, but no, I like that a lot. What they did, Hibner, I didn't get to, so I don't have a huge opinion of him, the tight end. But they are good at drafting tight ends, so I'll just assume it's not the worst tight end pick. Can't be that was made in this draft. I promise you that. We'll get to those later. Chandler Rivers, I really thought was a great value for them in the second or in the 5th round because I do think Humphrey is not long for that team, and he can maybe help replace some of the more traditional slot corner snaps that they don't give to like Kyle Hamilton and stuff like that. Josh Cuevas, I was a fan of him. I'm glad he was able to go this early. Honestly, I thought he was going to be even later than this, where he was at in the 5th round. Adam Randall is interesting. Former running back now, or former wide receiver now running back out of Clemson.
Yeah, like
I
that.
didn't get to him I didn't watch much of him, but he's at least intriguing. A punter pick is like, I guess I don't really care. Rayshon Benny though, near the end of the draft I'm surprised he lasted that long because I felt like he was at least going to be a guy that's like, hey, he can play run defense for you on 1st and 2nd down. So they get a guy like that, and then Evan Bernstein didn't get to him, but I've heard some people kind of view him as potentially even like center prospect instead of just a tackle or guard. So maybe that's something they're going to experiment with their interior. But like I said, in the whole, like outside of the Jacoby Lane pick, like really zero questions with this draft, and I think they got a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, no, I had an A- grade from them. For them, it was funny. They were very close to being one of my top 3. They were also almost on my confusing list.
Yep.
Just because it was the most Ravens draft ever. And I don't know if that's a good thing. Because, Ioane, great pick. It's also a guard. How much better is that going to make the Ravens?
Well, if you look at the guard play versus the last year,
yeah,
maybe it's going to make them a lot better.
This is hard to,
it's hard to know. Yeah,
the game,
yeah,
the impact on the game at the position is it's just tough when that's like the hallmark pick of your entire draft class.
he's probably going to hit Dalton.
It's absolutely going to
hit. Guards hit in the 1st round, and a lot of other positions don't be hitting.
But do we think that the Ravens are going to win a Super Bowl because they drafted Vega Ioane?
No, but I think the problem with that is the Ravens would have to win the Super Bowl at all, and I don't know if any pick they made there's going to do that because they're weird.
I mean, that's the thing. Like the Zion Young pick, again, it just feels so much like the Mike Green pick last year where, it could work, but also, are you really, can you really afford to like take a chance on it not hitting? But I do like the Zion Young pick.
I also think he has a
Um,
much higher floor, which helps.
well, yeah, Zion
Like,
Young is
yeah,
what the league thought, or is Zion Young is what the as a player, anyways, is what the league thinks Malachi Lawrence is.
yeah.
Or,
Well, I think they like Lawrence's burst, and I like Zion Young's power, so it's a little bit different.
yeah,
But yeah, it's I get what you're saying. Like Zion Young definitely could have been the 23rd pick in the draft if he didn't have the weird stuff going on,
I
and I
agree.
wouldn't have batted an eye at that.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't have. So
and then the receivers they took, I like that for Baltimore. But again, like Surratt might. I mean, if Surratt ends up being their number one receiver, that might not be great. Like I
they
like
should
Surratt a
honestly
lot,
just tell him to do what Isaiah Likely used to do. Literally, just do the same thing. Run
but
this,
like
literally run the same routes, do the same stuff because they really were cooking on offense when that was working. Just have him do a lot of the same thing because Isaiah Likely was a slot receiver for this team basically.
but
So just do that.
their top three receivers now are Zay Flowers, Jacoby Lane, and Elijah Surratt, probably.
I mean, Bateman, as bad as he was last year, is still a better player than Jacoby Lane, in my opinion. So I'd probably slot him in there.
Yeah, I think
But
that'll
especially
be
because Lane needs a time to like become an NFL body
yeah,
type, frankly. But that's still not great, no matter how you look at it now.
yeah. It's just that's the thing. Like that was the. I think that's the thing that like I don't think we realized how bad the Ravens have gotten over the last few years. And I don't know, you just see all the needs they have on defense, and I do worry that like they didn't address that area enough. And they did it by taking two, and the reason for that is they took two shots at wide receiver in the third and fourth round, and they still in this draft didn't actually come away with a true number one receiver. The defense really might not be all that much better. I mean, you hope Zion Young pans out. But yeah, it's just hard to see how much better they got, but I don't mind the draft. Like I said, it was one of the better draft classes.
I think on the surface, like it's a good class from in terms of the
Absolutely.
players they drafted. Whether it's exactly what they needed is definitely up for debate. I
Yeah.
think, like, if they would have taken Mekhi Lemon at 14, I wouldn't have batted an eye at that, even with
No.
Ioane on the board, because that's the type of high volume, middle of the field target that would probably cook with Lamar, right? So, like, that's probably like if you're going for the best bet or yeah, either way. I think especially Lemon just because of the like immediacy of how like likely it is he's going to be able to play at a high level right away. Sadiq from like a talent perspective for sure. Yeah, absolutely is also up there. But it was interesting to see kind of how they chose to go about it. But who is your I think you still have one more
one to go,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Steve will appreciate this. Shout out Steve from the live show last week. Jets are my last one here. They quietly had a very good draft. Part of it is, it's a lot harder to fuck up a draft when you have that much draft capital.
Right.
But I know, Shane, they probably didn't make your list because I know you really don't like the David Bailey pick.
That is ultimately what kept them slightly outside of my top group, but not by much. It's not that I think like they did a good job overall. I don't have any like major question marks about what they did, but you are correct that is why they're not in my top 5.
Yeah, for me, they didn't totally screw up any of their first round picks. Like,
yeah, I don't think totally screw up would be. I think that'd be pushing it, but it's
They didn't make any. I think they hit all like they just hit doubles this entire draft. Is probably the best way to put it. I think David Bailey is going to be a productive player for them. Kenyon Sadiq at 16 is a really good pick. I mean, they just need offensive weapons, and I think he was probably the best one available, in my opinion. And then Omar Cooper Jr., I'm a little lower on him, but, I think after getting Sadiq, you could argue Cooper Jr. made more sense for them than Boston there, considering you already have some of the contested catchability with Sadiq. And then getting D'Angelo Pons at 50 is just an awesome pick. And I feel like Aaron Glenn, I said this
Drafted himself.
on what's that?
He drafted himself.
Yeah, and I also Aaron Glenn, and also Aaron Glenn's the guy that figured out that Amik Robertson is an outside corner.
Yep.
And I think D'Angelo Pons really is like a higher upside Amik Robertson in a lot of ways. And so I think he's gonna get Pons right away and say, yeah, you're an outside corner. We're not even gonna bother like messing with the whole slot thing. And then Daryl Jackson Jr. in the 4th round is not a bad pick either.
Totally fine.
And got some solid value. And then Cade, they did take a quarter of all the teams that needed a quarterback. I thought they got some of the better value taking Cade Klubnik in the 4th round. Like,
the only issue I had with it, real quick, I don't mind where they like the fact they took him, because I do like him. I think he's one of the better like backup / spot starter guys available. They did trade up for him, which I thought was a little interesting. Not that it's the end of the world, but I thought it was fascinating that they did that. They felt the need to, I guess, which is fine. Also, where we'll talk about it a little bit, I'm sure, throughout the rest of this conversation, but where the quarterbacks went off the board in this draft, fascinating. Yes, exactly, fascinating. Yeah. So, but yeah,
I mean, it was a little early for me, like 110, but I mean, he was 150 on my board.
Quarterbacks are.
But quarterbacks are always going to go a little earlier, and then VJ Payne at 228 is just unreal. Like, that's just an awesome pick. Like, he will probably play a lot for them right away.
He'll do something. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe it'll be outside corner too. I don't know. I still think that's his best position, but or theoretically it would be his best position. Maybe just tight end eraser. He'll do something.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn might have saved his job. Like,
that's the thing. If Geno Smith is like the 22nd best quarterback in the NFL next year, which would be a sizable leap from what he was last year, but he's not playing for a team currently coached by nobody, even if Aaron Glenn is a step up from that only so far. But it also comes down to, like, does Frank Reich still have any juice as a play caller? I don't know. I simply don't know. But if he does, it could be. I think it'd be better if they took any number of players too besides David Bailey. But I still think he gives you immediate pass rush juice, even if it's probably like once a game, like once every other game, he has like a nice, couple snaps as a pass rusher, but we'll see.
The only thing they didn't do that I wish they would have done is draft a linebacker, which they could have done this style. But like anywhere, like maybe somewhere, like try to get the heir apparent to Demario Davis. But
that's why I thought they were going to take Reese, is because they could kind of use him everywhere.
Yeah,
and it just would have made sense. I guess they just wanted the immediate impact because they want to keep their jobs, which, like, I can respect that. But yeah, Demario Davis and Jamie Sherwood as your top 2 linebackers past like probably like week 11 next year is probably not ideal. But what are you going to do? Yeah. We'll see what they kind of do there. But that team could be at least feisty defensively. Yeah. And I think offensively, literally just comes down to, like, does Geno Smith continue to be absolutely cooked out of his mind, or was he just playing for the Raiders last year? I think that's the question everyone's wondering at this point.
Yeah. But then you give Cade Klubnik a look if he is cooked.
Which I would love to see that for probably 2 games. Then I'd be like, let's move on.
But then if neither one of those are working, then you're probably picking in the top 5, and you're going to get probably either Arch Manning or Dante Moore, and you're going to have a great foundation around them.
See, here's my counterpoint to that, Dalton. I think at least Arch Manning and maybe Dante Moore, considering there's always a chance that that's why he's playing college football this year. I wonder if both of them would simply say no. Have we rolled out the idea?
Because
twice in a row.
Wanted to be a Jet.
He could have been one this year. Right, yeah. That's the thing, is I feel like if it happens again, or like let's say the Jets are picking it too, and whoever's picking 1 won't give up one no matter what they give them, even though they have 3 first-round picks. And so then whoever, maybe it's not Dante Moore who ends up being QB1, because a lot of people would have Manning right now. I don't have an opinion yet. But if Moore is in line to be drafted by the Jets again, he might go back another time, because I think he could theoretically, right? I think he actually
Yeah,
doesn't have
probably.
he might actually have eligibility left pass rusher. I didn't double check that. But yeah, that would be really funny if the Jets just get basically rage baited twice in a row. That'd be pretty funny. But I also do think Archie Manning would simply not be allowed to. Like, I don't think that his family would allow him to be drafted by the Jets. Like, they would go to the NFL and be like, "You can't allow this to happen. We won't do it." And then they'd be like, "All right, I guess, fuck me, I guess." And they have to take somebody else. But I don't know. That's a fascinating conversation. A couple other names I'm just going to throw out there in case they're not talked about, in our next couple groups here, because I don't think they will be. Cowboys, outside of the Lawrence pick, I'm kind of with everything they did, and I'm higher enough on Lawrence that good.
Yeah, they made my confusing list.
Okay, we could talk about them more there. Then I'll save them. Again, I get why they're not one of my favorite drafts, but I kind of like what the Raiders did because I'm higher on the players they drafted than you are, but they're not quite enough to be up there. And then the Saints, I thought, had a really nice draft. If Tyson works out, that draft could be very, very good because I like a lot of what they did too. So I wanted to throw them out there, but let's get into our confusing here next
fair.
instead of worse. Let's save worse for last.
Before we move on, I just want to shout out my other because I did have a lot of ties.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Commanders, and I think the Commanders were my only other A- that we haven't shouted out yet. Commanders, Bucks, Ravens, and Giants. Commanders and Giants.
Okay, I left the Giants off all of my lists because I don't have a big problem with anything they did, other than the fact I would have taken Caleb Downs at 10.
Fair.
Because even the Arvell Reese thing, he was too good not to take, but I also question a little bit about what's going to happen with him ultimately, with everyone they have in that linebacker / edge room. But it's still he's too good not to take at that point, probably, right? But outside of the Downs thing, which I don't mind Maui Noah either, which is why they don't make my confusing or worst list by any means. But yeah, they were a tough one for me a little bit. But let's get into our most confusing list here. And you already started with one, so let's just start with them. Then, if you want all the Cowboys, lay it on me because I think I know where you're going with it. But
the Cowboys simultaneously might have had the best or had arguably the best and the worst pick of the first round, and I just don't know what to do with that.
That's fair.
The Downs pick was really nice. That was a really
excellent.
Good pick. They killed it. That was probably one of the 3 best picks in the draft, in the first round. Malachi Lawrence is by far the worst pick. He was, I believe, somewhere in the 70s on my board. Or no, he might even been further down. No, he was 100 or he was 99. He was 99 on my
on the consensus.
Board.
I think he was something
76, something like that, or 80
like
something. Yeah. Well, I can tell you on the DSN consensus board, Malachi Lawrence was 88. Yeah, not great to pick at 23. Yeah.
And you traded down with your division rival, who then got Mekhi Lemon. Not that they should have drafted Mekhi Lemon. Also, I promise I'm not saying this just because they cucked the Steelers, but they kind of did.
I mean, they absolutely did.
They definitely did that shit, which is a conversation for a different time. But if Mekhi Lemon becomes what I think he's going to be, they might end up regretting allowing the Eagles to do that. Especially because apparently they did it because they were trying to get at Mike McCarthy, which is so funny because why do you care at all? Why do you give a single shit what he's doing right now?
Why do you care more about Mike McCarthy going to a team that's just, no offense, Shane, but right now just as average as he is?
For sure.
In Absolutely the opposite conference that you're never going to see, versus the team that you have your biggest rival in the division right now.
It's fascinating. I didn't ding them for that because I don't really know what to do with that, but it is fascinating that they did it. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that plays out. But anyway,
And
go ahead.
then, like, just at edge in general, they took 3 edges in this class. And essentially, what they really did, in my opinion, is they took a DPR 7 tech, a DPR 9 tech, and a DPR 5 tech, at least right away. And it's like,
Well, when you
that's
put it
not
that
great.
way, so let me
I
just
mean,
start real
I
quick.
do like
Like,
Barham a lot. I think he's going to,
yeah, good
but
player.
like, there's a good chance that he's the best of those 3 edges. And
I
they
think
took
he
him.
is right now,
Yeah.
probably.
So yeah, taking him at 92, like, just kind of makes, in my opinion, the Lawrence pick at 23 just that much worse. I like Drew. I mean, day 3, they got guys like Drew Shelton, Devin Moore, LT Over. I thought those were solid picks.
Yeah.
But again, Overton was the 3rd edge you took. Like,
Well,
you
so
just didn't
he
need that.
apparently, this is the thing I wanted to mention. He is apparently up to 295 pounds. He's going to be an interior defensive lineman for them, like straight up.
Okay.
So I think they're viewing him as potentially an Osa
Like a 4i.
Odigizua replacement, like someone like that. So I think that makes me feel a little bit better about that pick, because I do think if he's committing to be an interior player, then I think he's worth that pick. Like, I think he is. The Barham pick,
Right around
apparently
there.
he's going to play linebacker primarily for them at first.
Who's that?
Is kind of Barham. He's going to
Barham.
play primarily linebacker, like as kind of like a blitzing, like kind of hammer type of guy initially, rush off the edge occasionally. So it's to them, it sounds like they drafted a pure edge, a hybrid edge, and an interior defensive lineman in their eyes. Which I don't know if that changes anything ultimately, but I think that's kind of where they're coming at it from.
I think that's exactly why it's confusing to me.
That's
because,
fair.
like,
Yeah.
Michigan moved Barham to the edge for a reason.
He's kind of raw at every position he's played,
Yeah.
but he's probably just better as an edge rusher at the end of the day. So,
and then Overton move him inside. Essentially, you spent, in that case, you probably spent a 4th round pick on Tyree Wilson, which
it's better than an 8th overall pick.
You could have traded, yeah, but you also could have just traded a 5th for him.
Yeah, but then you don't get the cost control.
Yeah, but you also get him after he's already learned the position. Now you got to, like, do that whole Tyree Wilson process, which took the Raiders 3 years to make him, like, at least a serviceable in defensive tackle.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit
weird,
of a weird.
It's just
class.
a weird draft.
Yeah, it's weird. I get why you have him confusing, because, like, I don't. Other than the Lawrence pick, which granted I had him at 51, I think he is probably a DPR, but just maybe a better one than I think you and Jake were thinking he might be, which is fine. It's still a DPR. I don't love that at all. It's still like 40 picks probably earlier than you probably should have gone, at least. But like it's at least like not quite as much of a reach to me as it was for you guys. And then also the rest of it is like I can rationalize what they're thinking. Don't know if it's gonna work, but I also see Caleb Downs staring at me at 11, and I can't help but be like, yes, let's do it. Especially when the Dolphins allow them to do that, which that's a whole other discussion.
I agree. And also, I don't care what anyone is going to tell me about Javonte Williams. The Cowboys need a draft running back, at least somewhere.
Yeah, that was a little weird too, because they hate Jaden Blue. They hate that guy.
I mean, just drafted him last year. Barely an NFL player.
That's what I'm saying. They drafted him last year, and they already hate him. So that's odd too. But maybe they're like, this running back class is so bad, we don't want any of them. It's like, all right, I guess, but
right now,
taken one of them.
Malik Davis is your RB2.
He was the backup last year too. So it's like, did you like that experience? Probably not. No offense to Malik Davis. So I don't know, man.
Like, I don't know, and like
George Pickens doesn't want to play football for you either. That's a conversation that's probably best had.
There were a lot of guys like, I would have much rather taken Mike Washington or Emmett Johnson in the 4th round, or Jonah Coleman, who I think was also went the 4th.
He went at the top of the 4th, so it was a little bit before they picked. But
like, there were a lot of guys, there were a lot of running backs that went in the 4th round that you could have taken over Devin Moore, who will probably not start for them.
Yeah, I don't mind Devin Moore as a pick that they made, but like, he probably isn't going to be started right away at least. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And I get why it's confusing. For me, the first team I want to throw out is the Bills. and it's not necessarily because again, this isn't worst classes, right? This is our confusing section because I think it's a
Confusing, yeah.
separate conversation. TJ Parker at 35 in a vacuum, not a bad pick from a value perspective, in my opinion. But they have kind of only TJ Parker guys. They just have another one now. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you just so desperately want all your edge rushers to look like TJ Parker, and then you took TJ Parker. And I just find that confusing because I'm like, you've already tried having this type of edge rusher be your like primary guys. You have two of them at least right now, and then you drafted the third one. And I'm fascinated by that.
To be fair, TJ Parker does look like a prototypical edge rusher.
He does, but like, is Bradley
That's what you
Chubb
want.
and Gregory Rousseau not just TJ Parker but older? Is that kind of not what they're already doing right now? And it hasn't
But
really
that's
worked.
also like the ideal build for an edge rusher. Like that's what you want.
It is, but like that hasn't worked for them. So it's
I
like,
mean,
should you
because
try to add
those
some
guys are old.
juice? But they haven't. When they were young and good, it didn't really work.
I
like,
mean,
for the
was
teams
Bradley
they were
Chubb
on.
ever actually that good, or did he just look really good when he played across from Von Miller?
The eternal question. I think
Prime
he
Von
was a
Miller,
good.
to
I
be
think
very
he was a
clear.
good
Not in
player, but never a
Buffalo.
great. But that's kind of my point. Is none of these guys, Rousseau, Chubb, and now Parker, to me, profile as number one edge rushers. And now they just have like three number twos, and one of those number twos is probably a number three now because he's old and injured. And it's like maybe you probably weren't getting a number one there anyway, but I at least would have focused on like let's get some immediate like get off juice, someone who can quickly affect the pocket. If you're not going to be able to find a true number one, like a Cassius Howe or even an R. Mason Thomas, early for that guy, but it's like someone like that. But they went kind of for the same thing, and I feel like they're just going to continue to not be able to affect the quarterback quickly. And with that secondary in flux now, with the way the scheme is changing, I worry about that a little bit. So that was a little bit
That's
confusing to
fair.
me.
That's
Again,
fair. I'm
it's not that
willing
it's
to bet
bad.
against Clemson.
That's fair, but it's not that. It's not again. It's not a question of whether it's bad. It's confusing to me that they keep doing kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
expecting it to be different. And then Davison Igbinosun was just early, frankly.
Yeah.
Just early. It's the type of corner I think they want now with the new scheme, but it's 40 picks probably early ish.
At least,
Depending on how much you like Davison Igbinosun. Jude Bowery, don't have a problem with that. Tackle in the fourth round. Skylar Bell, love that pick.
they killed that range.
They did. Kilgore at the fifth round. Did he kill somebody before the draft or something? I don't care if you didn't like him. The end of the fifth round,
167.
What are we talking about? Just from
Yeah.
a raw, like if you didn't think he was good at all, just from an athletic standpoint, this guy goes in the top 100 just off traits usually. So is there something wrong with him we don't know about? We'll have to see. But that floored me. So again, I don't really have a problem with a lot of these picks. Elarms or I didn't really love that much, but it's whatever. Zane Durant that late is fine. I don't know if he's going to do anything, but whatever. They get Armand Reed Adams, who I like that of A&M, is that like big-bodied guard that can just hold up in pass protection because of his size. The draft as a whole, not bad by any means. Some really good picks in the day three. Just those first two picks, especially, just confuse me for different reasons, and I don't know how to feel about it because this is a Bills team whose only goal is to get Josh Allen to a Super Bowl, and I don't know if anything they did really moves the needle to get them there.
Maybe. Yeah, I get that. I also do wonder if they got Skylar Bell should play right away for them.
He can, but like, is he kind of not the receiver they've always had?
Exactly, that's the issue.
You know, like, not that that's necessarily bad, but like, is he that different materially from like Khalil Shakir?
And I think Parker, Bowery, and Kilgore and Durant could all contribute right away.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they got a lot of contributors. And, part of their issue right now is they just don't have a ton of talent. So I get it from that perspective, but I agree with you. Like, did they really get any closer to a Super Bowl?
No, maybe they weren't going to, but the fact that they kept moving back until they took TJ Parker, it's like, maybe just take Denzel Boston, man, and just see if that works at receiver. See if you can get the big body guy that
Yeah,
actually can play instead of Keon Coleman. Maybe you
yeah,
take
I
a
agree.
shot on someone else, like something. Take a
Or
swing.
even like at 62, if that was Ted Hurst, that would have been a hell of a pick.
Yeah, just take a shot. Get somebody who's getting down the field on this football team right now for Josh Allen. Who's doing that shit? Can you find somebody? Or did I miss something? I
I
don't
want
think
to
so.
say
DJ
just
Moore's not doing it
DJ
next
Moore.
year. But again, I don't think he's getting vertical for this football team consistently anymore. Like I don't think he's really ever been like a true vertical
Yeah,
threat type of receiver to me. He's going to
Josh
help the
Palmer.
offense. Yeah, that worked out really well last year. They're gonna do what just they're gonna do the Justin Herbert thing. Be like, here's no deep threats. Throw the ball down the field, Justin. He's gonna be like, well,
Yeah,
no, that's stupid. And they're like, do it. No, I'm not gonna do. Like I don't know. I don't. Again, it's not that it's bad by any means. A lot of the day three stuff is good. I just if you're the Bills, I don't know how you feel
yeah.
about that whole thing. But who's your next confusing team?
So this is one I'm curious if you also have on here. You might also be in the next category. The Rams.
I have them in worse, so we'll talk about them then.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about them now. But you tell me why you're confusing. I'll talk about why I think it's the worst we've had.
So for me, I didn't hate the Ty Simpson pick that much.
I hate it.
I didn't really, and like they also I felt like got really good value with I also like thought the Claire pick was at least a good player. Just doesn't make sense for them because they didn't need another tight end. Um, and then Daniels and Keenan were good value on day 3, but like really good value with where they got them. And I like those picks a lot. I think Daniels could especially be like a really good Puka Nakua backup and replacement, like especially a possible replacement for Puka, depending on what's going on there. But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
My issue with them is you've been doing the FTP strategy for years. You can't stop now. And it feels like they stopped now because the Claire pick feels like more of like future kind of like I don't know, moving up to get Ty Simpson just felt like why are you even bothering running it back with Matt Stafford if that's what you're gonna do? Like that's why this strategy was always doomed to like not work out at some point, because now you're in a situation where you probably didn't get any closer to like winning a Super Bowl this year, and maybe you have your quarterback of the future. You have a chance at one, but like I don't know. I feel like it makes more sense to just keep doing this until Matt Stafford retire. Like just keep going all in until Matt Stafford retires, and then if you can't replace him, then be bad for a year, get somebody else, or be bad for a couple of years, rebuild it, and start from scratch. Because like all they're setting themselves up for is a slow drift into a weird 7-10 limbo in a couple of years.
Yeah, so I totally understand why you have them in confusing, right? Because it is confusing what they did. But I think they were so confusing that it was bad. And that's the line,
Yeah.
right? It creeped into worse territory because this to me is the equivalent of this is the best way I can describe it. Let's say you got all the ingredients except for a couple things for just a Michelin star level home cooked meal. You got the Wagyu steak, you got all the best like farm grown vegetables, all the good like you're making the best meal you've ever made. You're missing a couple ingredients. And your strategy then to deal with that, instead of going and getting those ingredients and doing everything you can to get them, you decide to stop making the dinner and order Taco Bell. That's pretty much what I think they did from an analogy standpoint. You instead of trying to finish the puzzle piece that you're putting together here, the meal you're putting together, the Super Bowl, of course, being the meal, you decide to use the 13th pick on a quarterback that I wouldn't have drafted until the middle of the second round, even with the quarterback bump being factored in. You drafted tight end 5 potentially tight end 5 potentially to start the season. I like Max Clare. Might be tight end 5, at least to start the season.
I mean, I would hope he's at least tight end 2, but
He'll be tight end 4 at best next year, in my opinion. And that's if he proves that he can be valuable enough ahead of a guy that's been there for a while, and that guy being specifically Davis Allen, who actually plays for this team a good bit.
I think he's right there with T-Ferg for tight end 3 right now.
Could he be? Yes. Will he be? I doubt it for a team that apparently is trying to win right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the issue. I'll keep going. I'm still here.
Yeah, but the point is that you drafted a guy in the second round who probably won't play more than 100 snaps for you at most on offense specifically, and that's being generous to him probably. Keegan Trost, who I didn't watch frankly because he was one of those guys where like awesome like metrics, especially look at like grading profile and stuff like that on PFF and other sites, but wasn't an athlete and probably will have to play guard and might not need to play for this team ever, let alone like soon, and is drafted in the 3rd round. CJ Daniels, totally fine. Great pick for a 6th round pick. I don't know if he can separate at the NFL level, but he'll make clutch catches for you if he needs to go out there and play. He'll make a couple of big catches for you, I bet. Tim Keenan, also great pick. Needed somebody to be an understudy to Poona Ford for the time being. I think he can help you immediately if he has to play. That's fine. But you had the 13th pick in the draft in a season where you traded one of your 1st round picks that you got, or that you traded the pick you had and had the 13th pick still you got from the Falcons. You traded that pick, 29, for a corner, gave him $30 million a year because you're trying to make the team as best you possibly can for this year and in the next year or two, really. And then you burn the 13th pick on a quarterback that to me probably isn't a starting quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. If you had to ask me, like, do I think he's going to be a long-term starter in the NFL, or if he's going to be a guy who starts less than 15 games in the NFL, I'm leaning the second one. That's where I'm at with Ty Simpson. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's a above average starting quarterback if everything hits perfect for him. And use the 13th pick on that. I just simply can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's something to be said for the idea is like, yeah, you used one of your picks on getting a corner. It just wasn't a draft pick. Or like you just didn't draft him.
Yeah.
That was kind of the win now play. And then you also used the other one to plan for the future with Ty Simpson. But like you can't do both.
And if you were going to do both, it can't be for a Ty Simpson level prospect, in my opinion.
Fair.
That's the thing. If you took a guy who has a year or two probably to learn, needs some time, like if a guy like Lenore Sellers, for example, as much as I think he struggled last year and as much as I think he needed to go back to school when he did, if he was in this class and the Rams identified him as a guy that they think they can teach the stuff that he needs to learn and get better at, and they said, screw it, when are we going to have a pick high enough to draft this level of talent again? We're going to take him. He's going to sit behind Stafford for a year or two, and we'll give him a chance to earn the job in 2028 or whatever it is. Fine. You might be able to convince me of the process behind that. You can't get there with me with Ty Simpson. You just can't do it. That's the ultimate issue with it. So that's why I have them as worse. But I get why you have them confusing though, because it is confusing. It is. I also just think it's also bad on top of being confusing, so therefore it's one of the worst ones. But it's tough. Next team I'm going to do here, and it's because I think you might have them in the worst group. And so it'll give us each a different worst team we can talk about then too. Jaguars, I have in confusing. And I didn't put them in worst because I literally don't have enough information on the players they took to put them in the worst category. I did not watch enough of the prospects they drafted for me to confidently say that it's the worst, but it is the most confusing in my opinion. What in the world board did they put together that got them the combination? Okay. Just pull this up here because again, like there's one pick in here. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. The rest, no idea. Nate Borkircher is your first pick of your draft in the second round. Nate Borkircher. He has 417 career receiving yards. He's a 6th-year player.
Yeah.
I I don't care if he's the best blocker on the face of the earth, which he probably isn't. Just saying. 6'4", 245. That can't be your first pick. Didn't watch him. Don't know how good he is or not, but he can't be that good, in my opinion. Albert Regis, I didn't get to. A lot of people are fans of him. I'm going to just say that's a wash. I don't know. Emmanuel Pregnon, awesome pick. That's the pick where I'm like, okay, if this was like another player I've never heard of or never watched, I might have put them in worse because then they'd have zero people that I know anything about. And I'd have to do that. But that's fine. Jalen Husky, didn't watch him. Some people are a fan of him. I don't know anything about him, frankly.
I watched him. I think I had a 6th or 7th round grade on him.
Okay. How about Wesley Williams?
Who?
Who? Who is that guy? Tanner Koziel, I know. He's an interesting tight end out of Houston. I think he's a pass catcher. Again, another tight end here, which is fine. Josh Cameron, I like that in the 6th round. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Might be a running back, frankly. Maybe be more interesting at running back than he will be a receiver, but we'll see.
That's the second best pick they made.
Yeah, probably. Who is CJ Williams, and why are we drafting Stanford wide receivers? Who is that guy? I think he was in the 600s of the consensus. I think it was 600s. I'm pretty sure he was the one that was in the 600s of the consensus ranking.
NFL Network didn't even write up on him.
I know. Zach Durfee? Who's that? Who's Parker Hughes?
Linebacker from Middle Tennessee State. Yeah.
Who are these people, Dalton? Where'd they find them?
I don't know. And like that's where like
I'm sorry,
I get why you put it
or something.
Yeah.
For God forbid.
No, like that's the thing. I get why you made it confusing because it's
I don't know enough about the players.
But we also didn't watch these guys for a reason.
I'd like to think so. I hope so, frankly, from our sake. Sorry, God.
But nobody was watching these guys. Like that's the thing. It's not like it was just us. Nobody was watching them, and I gotta think there was a reason. And I didn't go back and actually watch any of these guys. But let's just pick. I mean, Parker Hughes,
he ran like a 4.37 or something.
He's a 6 foot, 228-pound linebacker from a group of Middle Tennessee State is an FC. Are they an FCS team? Or are they
Middle Tennessee is a group of 4 team.
They're okay.
But and then whatever it is, chief or whatever it is, yeah.
And then CJ Williams, that was another weird one. Again, just a very average size wide receiver. Just to me, the little bit of digging I did in the last 10 seconds looks like dollar store Eli Manor. Which not really a draftable player. Even if we like Eli Manor a lot on this show.
Correct.
The dollar store version of him doesn't sound like someone I'd really be that interested in having on my football team. And then
talk about sacrificial acts.
Yeah. This guy's smaller. This guy's 6'1", 199.
Yeah. Sacrificed acts.
Yeah. And then the Borkitcher pick, I mean, I'm sure there's some things that he does really well, and we're all gonna convince ourselves that wasn't a completely ridiculous pick. It's insane. It's insane.
It's just really early, but also Marlon Klein went not long after, so that we don't know anything about the tight end class. Dalton, we knew Pinion City first. We knew Stowers would probably need to be drafted early because of his athleticism. It literally completely went to shit almost immediately after that.
We know enough to know that pick's insane.
No, but I'm saying we didn't as a community, we did not see this tight end class coming in the way that it did. They didn't take these guys in anything close to the order that we expected after the first 2.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, Regis I watched a lot of other Texas A&M guys, and he never really like jumped out at me. So there's
Apparently, he's a
that.
good run defending sub 300-pound defensive tackle. So take that for what you will.
Again, like it
I'm
just at
not
81,
sure.
it's rough. And yet Jalen Husky is barely a draftable player, and they took him.
According to ESPN, he had an 18% chance of being drafted before the draft and was
Here, I'll
taken
pull
at
up.
pick 100.
I
So,
think I have funny notes for him if I remember correctly.
oh, good. We love funny notes for him.
So he was. You didn't even like crack my like safety ranks. So my strengths were all MAC corner in 2023. So got some versatility and some good like man coverage skills.
Awards,
Physical in
you
the
know, we love
box, good
awards.
instincts. 20% missed tackle rate. Tackling
Mm,
technique is atrocious and
mm,
doesn't have sideline to sideline speed.
mm.
So what is he going to do? There's just, and also like way too small to be like kind of like a, he's a little light to play up in the box, 6'1", 195, and like, I don't know, undersized and kind of slow. I mean, you hope that, I mean, this is a pure small slot corner. Like, this is a guy, that, but then those guys are going to be too quick for him. Like, what is he going to play?
He's going to do something because he was the 100th pick in the draft, Alden.
I know, and that's like that's the insane thing. Like, I'm really trying to like figure out like, and he like because like the reason why he got dinged for me a little bit and it was more of like a 6th round grade and not a 5th round grade is because I don't think he can play special teams.
Well, that's
With
not good.
how many tackles he misses, and like this,
So
like
right now
yeah,
he's the
it's rough.
backup. Now, granted, this is like the initial like where they were placed in the depth chart by our lads, but he would be the backup free safety currently. So
Yeah, it's bad. They had one of the worst drafts. Like, I mean, now to be fair, they did spend one of their 4th round picks on Jacoby Myers, and that was the best pick they made in the draft.
correct, but we don't factor that in to this. At least I
They
haven't.
should have,
But
yeah. And then what they do with their 1st round pick?
that was part of the Hunter trade.
That was the move up to get Hunter. So yeah,
Yeah,
they should have traded the rest of the picks.
it seems like it.
I mean, the Pregnon pick, I didn't even like him that much, but 88's pretty good.
Oh yeah,
Like that's a real like that's a good pick. Everything else they might as well set 6 or 7 picks on fire, at least.
yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry, they set 9 picks on fire.
Well, yeah. Who's your next confusing team here?
Confusing. So you'll notice a little bit of a theme here with some of these. Cardinals. Another team that just took a quarterback, and I don't know if the pick actually like is going to do anything.
They were one of my worst teams as well.
That's fair. I think we're both in the same boat of like not sure if this is confusing or confusing bad. And it's fair. The Love pick for most teams would have been okay. Doesn't make a lot of sense for them.
It's tough.
And then Basantis, I thought this is close to his range, but you know, and I get like there was a run of linemen going, so I get that pick a little bit. That's one of the better picks they made.
Yep.
But again, like you needed talent, and like I just don't know if I don't know if they were a team that was ready to spend their top 2 picks on a running back and a guard.
Yeah.
And then
well,
there you go.
Yeah, since we're both talking about this team in different ways. The Love pick, I don't love it, but it's not because I don't love the player. I do. But again, like could you have convinced me about him going at 4? Maybe. because at least you have a quarterback that you're trying to help, right? Do
Yeah.
I think the offensive line is good enough if you're the Titans and you just drafted Love and no other offensive lineman?
Probably not.
Probably not. But at least I can understand the thought process, right? If the Giants took him at 5 because they're afraid of Mr. CTE not being able to be the lead back forever, sure. And he's also just better, right?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I get it. Hell, could you have convinced me the Washington, who desperately needed defense, could have just taken him and said, good luck defending Jaden Daniels and Jeremiah Love at the same time? Sure. The Cardinals are just so far away, clearly, from
Yeah.
being competitive that I just don't know the rationale behind this because sure, like once a quarterback is found, if it is one, which they didn't find one by the way, spoiler alert, the guy they drafted 65 isn't an NFL quarterback.
Probably not.
At least not a starting NFL quarterback. Um, then that offense might be kind of legit if they can figure out right tackle long term, right? The defense has a lot of question marks, and they don't have a quarterback right now, so it doesn't matter. But this is the thing: if they had taken, I don't know, like as much as I don't love this pick either, Drew Aller as like a dart throw. If they would have taken, hell, Taylor Green at 65 might have gotten a better grade from me than the Carson Beck pick did, because I could see how that guy could maybe eventually be a quarterback worthwhile. Carson Beck's arm barely exists, folks. That thing doesn't have a bit of juice left in the tank. And unless he's suddenly going to get more juice back, being further removed from that elbow surgery,
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
yeah, that's not an NFL caliber arm at all. It isn't. It's not. It would be worse than Tua. It'd be worse than Brock Purdy. You don't have NFL arm talent with Carson Beck currently. So unless that's suddenly going to change, they burned a 65th overall pick for nothing. Because maybe he can be a backup for you and get it done just with like veteran savvy and all the bullshit shit you hear all the time about, oh, you know what, he can't drive the football right now. So how is he going to start games?
My feeling is I think the elbow thing is I think it'll get better as he like gets further removed from that surgery.
You hope so.
I think he'll get a little more juice back. But this is a guy who like never had a cannon for an arm, and that was never
not a
big part of his game. I mean, he's got a really good feel for the game, and I think for me, the reason why I do like that pick a little bit more is they needed to take a quarterback in the first 2 days. Like they needed to take one of the top guys, and I do think for me he has the best of like the tier with like he, Aller, Green, like of that tier. He's the only one of those three that I feel confident can play in the NFL just because of the decision making and like can at least make enough accurate throws on a regular basis. Like that's the thing for me. Like I just think like he at least knows how to play the position well enough to at least be a really good backup, or to at least be a good backup, if not like a starter. I think there's still like some possible starter upside. And it's like, you know, you throw him out there the second half of the regular season and, you know, you let him play. If he wins, if he plays you out of a top 5 pick, great. Then you can maybe like actually give him a longer look. If he's actually cooked, then you're picking in the top 5, and then he can back up whoever you actually draft to be your franchise quarterback. I don't hate, like, they're so far away. I don't mind that pick as much, but like, it's just a weird, like, I think the confusing part for me was the first 2 picks, because the first 2 picks look like a team that's trying to get a lot better pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then you go and spend that pick on Carson Beck, unless you think that Carson Beck can like legitimately push Jacoby, or at least makes. Maybe you think. My only wonder is, do they think Carson Beck is good enough that they don't have to pay Jacoby Brissett?
Which, here's the thing: at the end of the day, I would simply thug it out with Jacoby for a year and figure it out next year, because
But
the
he might hold
65th
out.
pick. But I'm saying pay the man money, because who are you paying money to? Kyler Murray, he doesn't play for you anymore. Who cares if you're paying him money? You're paying him
But
money
would you
anyway.
rather give stupid money to Jacoby Brissett to have you not get a top 5 pick then, or let Carson Beck go out there? The more I talk about it, I'm starting to actually see the vision a little bit. Or you let Carson Beck go out there and maybe actually be good on a rookie deal, and young, relatively, and maybe it works out. And if not, you're definitely getting a high draft pick next year. That's my
There
only
is
thought
there
there.
is no scenario where you could convince me to play Carson Beck any snaps in the NFL next year. None, zero. It doesn't matter, because he's not an NFL caliber quarterback right now. From an arm
Fair.
talent perspective, I legitimately think that he can't throw the football well enough to survive in the NFL as a starting quarterback right now.
But he
Until that
made it work
changes,
last year.
if the more I watched him, he was just chucking shit up there and hoping his receivers were making plays for him. And that's unfortunately not going to work at the NFL level in the same way.
But he knew where his anticipation was so good it
It got
worked.
better than it was at Georgia, because he'd had to be, because if he didn't play that way, he was going to get picked off every pass, because the ball was fluttering out there every time he was throwing it.
Yeah.
Like it was out of necessity, which might help him if his arm comes back, right? But even like you said, it wasn't spectacular to begin with, but it was NFL caliber when it was when he was at Georgia. Now it's not. So if you don't have the NFL caliber arm strength, and you're not like the most accurate player of all time, and you're not the best decision maker of all time, because there's still some bad decisions at Miami. It weren't as catastrophically bad as it was
Yeah.
at Georgia, but there's still some like triple coverage, like Malachi Tony, please save my life throws, and that worked at
Yeah.
Miami. But I don't know if it's going to work in the NFL as well.
Yeah, that pick at the end of the national championship game was kind of a questionable decision, and then combined with putrid arm strength,
That's kind of my
it looked really bad.
that's what I'm getting at, is like he can't drive the football, and in a gotta have it situation, if you can't fit in a pass like that, even give your guy a chance. It was one thing to get like it was a questionable decision, but if you're trying to just make something happen, he didn't even give his guy a shot. Like it was
No.
not even close to being where it needed to be, because he couldn't get enough arm on it. And it's like, if that's your arm talent, man, you can't draft that guy if that's the arm you're working with. Like you just let him
Yeah.
go get him as an UDFA if it's that bad. So we'll have to see if his arm comes back at all. If it comes back to like 90% of what it was, still wouldn't have drafted him until the 5th or 6th round, but I would understand drafting him then.
Fair.
At 65, there's too many good players on the board to draft Carson Beck. There just is. Like
Fair.
that's kind of my thing with it. But yeah, I'm not gonna rant about too much longer. There's if you can find 50 rants of Carson Beck right now on the internet if you looked it up, so you can get them elsewhere. But the draft as a whole is very much like, what are we doing, folks?
Yeah.
Like,
Do you have any more confusing ones?
the only other one that I think is definitely that needs to be talked about, and it's possible this is also one that you have actually in your worst, whereas I've had a lot of your confusing ones in my worst. The Chargers.
Yeah, they made my worst.
And it's really unfortunate because they took Mesidor, who I do like. I like that he went high because I want to see if it works out, and I do like the player. After that, I don't mind Brennan Thompson in the 4th round for a deep threat element with Justin Herbert. The rest of the draft, though, I don't know, man. Like, first of all, Jake Slaughter. What are we doing?
At 63 is
At
wild.
63, a guy who's only played center, when you just gave Biadash a 3-year contract to play center, and now he's going to be, I guess you're going to have Jake Slaughter try to be a guard when he's like barely over 300 pounds, and he's a fit from like a scheme standpoint with McDaniel, but he hasn't played guard. Why not just draft any guard that you think fits the scheme, because then
Yeah.
at least he's played guard.
Pregnon and Dunker were both still on the board here.
Right. And it's like, what do
Blows my
you
mind.
are you trying to get Justin Herbert murdered? They're trolling us, Dalton. This is I'm mad at this point. They're finding ways to keep doing this shit. They're like, oh well, we had all these offensive linemen. We're gonna just draft every offensive lineman we could find, but then they just draft only ones that don't make sense. It's like, how did you manage to do that? What are we talking about? I mean, that's kind of the end all be all of it.
The only pick that I thought wasn't like either a reach or just an absolute terrible pick was the Genesis Smith pick. Was Genesis Smith in the 4th round, and even that wasn't great.
I hated that pick for them specifically because what other team could you possibly think of that values the ability to tackle people more than the Chargers do? And they drafted the one safety in that range they could have drafted that probably can't tackle anybody. I find that fascinating.
I mean, I think the idea is that you make him play nickel and then you free up Derwin James to do more safety things.
That's terrible because how is he going to tackle anybody at nickel? That's worse.
The idea is he's more of like a tight end eraser.
Well, that's fine, but you can use him in that way. But like, if he's going to play actual nickel, no, he's getting cooked. It's over. They're just going to run at his ass every play. Good luck. Here's toss sweep right in Genesis Smith's face. Good luck trying to get to the running back. So that's the other problem is like he's really only, in my opinion, a cover safety, and they could use a cover safety.
Yeah, that too.
But it's just fascinating that they of all teams took him because it does not feel like they would like Genesis Smith, but they took him. It's not a bad pick from like a value standpoint, but it's just odd, I would say.
Yeah. Speaking of bad picks, I mean, the Slaughter picks just that's one of the worst.
If he was on the board, just bad.
Yeah. And then I know you liked Mesidor a little bit more. I just feel like this is a pretty big reach. And like to me, like this is where they needed to move back. And the fact that they decided to stick and pick here and then take a 25-year-old edge, like I don't know. It's he should be okay. But like I feel like there were better guys on the board here, and just was he really going to go this high? Like, was there really like a danger of them moving back and not getting him? And also at that point, then just take one of the other edges that are on the fringe of the 1st and 2nd round. There were plenty available. To me, like that was very much like a C+ pick, maybe a B- pick, and that was probably one of their better picks. Yeah. Considering when you factor in like how bad the Slaughter pick was, like that was just. And then Brennan Thompson, I'm sorry, 105 is just insane. Like that is not a 4th round player. That is a late day 3 guy. Like I'm sorry, 5'9", 164. That man is probably not an NFL player. I don't care how fast he is. Like that's just not an NFL player. It's just not. And you can't convince me otherwise. Like, I can't accept. Like, that's a guy you take 6th round at the earliest.
I get it.
And again, that was one of their, that was one of the marquee picks of their draft class. And they were, and in such a good, deep wide receiver class, I just really don't like it.
The only thing I'll say is that Mike McDaniel probably threatened to resign if they didn't draft him. Because this is exactly who Mike McDaniel is.
Tell Mike McDaniel to fuck off.
No, Dalton, he's going to be, I don't know, actually. So, the Brennan Thompson thing, I kind of excused it away a little bit because, like, I knew it was Mike McDaniel's fingerprints all over it. He's going to just fucking slot motion the shit out of him and just try to make teams be scared of him running past them and see if that helps do anything. It's probably not that big of a deal that they drafted him there because he's either going to be able to be a deep threat because of how fast he is, and Justin Herbert could just fucking launch 75-yard bombs to him and it won't matter that he's 164 pounds if it's when he's open. And then 2, I think that if nothing else, it does add an element of like teams have to be aware of him at least, right? Whereas a lot of the other receivers you draft there probably are more consistent players, but maybe don't move the needle at all in any way, potentially. versus at least with him, you might get like the ability to scare teams a little bit, right? So that's kind of like why I excused that one away. I didn't have him in my top 150 because like I kind of didn't know what to do with him. Like you said, it's kind of hard to figure out what he's going to be. But I think if they use him the right way, I think it's fine. But the draft as a whole, like I said, just confusing. Travis Burke,
Well, yeah,
by the
backup
way,
tackle at best, and it's like you did not have a lot of picks. You couldn't afford to like take a depth tackle with your fourth highest pick. Also, can we just take a second and acknowledge, because I'm looking at this, can we take a second and acknowledge just how many times pick 117 got passed around in this draft? I mean, it's like a joint at a concert.
From Minnesota via Jacksonville, Las Vegas, and Houston. It's crazy. What are we doing? Nobody wanted this pick. Nobody.
Wanted this pick.
And yet here we are. The Chargers made it. I don't even hate Travis Burke that much. It's just also like maybe it felt like the goal of this class was just to be like, we will never have to trade for Trevor Penning ever again. And that's a worthwhile cause to go after, but it is a weird.
But right now, Trevor Penning is still a starter on this team.
Well, they better hope he ain't. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, all right.
That's not good.
I mean, right now, you looking at our lads. So right now they have Slaughter listed as the starting left guard ahead of Trevor Penning, which
he's gonna have to be. He's gonna have to be.
But like your hope is that a rookie that's never played guard before can win your starting job.
So and then you're still starting Cole Strange.
Yeah.
Man, their best case scenario is that they have one massive hole at guard and that everyone else stays healthy. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Because either Slaughter's good as a rookie, which would be a big win for them, but Strange is terrible. Or Penning's terrible, whoever ends up playing guard for the most part. Or Slaughter's so bad he can't play, so you have to start Penning and Strange, and one of them is somehow not terrible.
Yeah.
That's your best case scenario.
Two actual starting caliber guards next.
I don't think so. So the Chargers,
I just can't see Slaughter being that good, especially year one.
As a guard, especially. I don't know, man. It's they're something.
And he was not one of the centers that I felt really confident was going to be a guard.
No. Take Connor Liu. If you're taking a center, because you don't have to play him right away because he's coming off an injury. So, yeah, Sam Hecht, if you're playing
Brian Parker.
Again, Brian Parker would have actually been great because he could just play.
Yeah.
Just pointed a spot and to go play that place for
Caleb Tiernan.
Yeah, he's going to play guard for the Vikings, I bet. So, yeah, play him there.
And again, it can't be said enough. Jennings Dunker and Emmanuel Pregnon were still both on the board. I get that Mike McDaniel very clearly prioritizes movement in an offensive lineman.
Pregnon was awesome in zone last year for Oregon.
Yeah,
he was. Maybe he's not going to do all the wild shit, but just adjust, dude. You don't. Mike McDaniel is one of those guys that I think in the right situation, we've seen him put up monster numbers offensively, right? But I think sometimes he's just so set in his ways that he sees a player and he's like, that dude isn't a freak athlete. I can't play him on my offensive line. And it's in my interior specifically. And it's sometimes guys are just better football players, man. And you got to just figure it out.
Yeah.
Just figure it out. You can't tell me in a vacuum that Emmanuel Pregnon and Jennings Dunker aren't better players than Jake Slaughter. You can't do that, in my opinion. So just because the guy, he moves really well out there, I guarantee he's man, I know there's a bunch of guards on the board, but Jake Slaughter moves so good to the second level, and he's so athletic and does this and that, which I don't even think is necessarily true. But let's say that's what they're thinking. We have to just take him, right? It doesn't matter. He's never played guard. He can figure it out. You can't do that, man.
Yeah. Speaking of Iowa, take Logan Jones even at that point. Or both.
Well, Logan Jones went before that. So
did he go before that? Good.
Yeah, he was at pick 60 or 57.
Yeah. And it was the second round. So yeah, but they also moved back, I believe. So like they could have taken Jones.
Yeah, if they stayed put. Yeah, if
I
they
think
would have
if they
taken Logan
stayed,
Jones, I would have been like, that's weird that they paid Biotish, but at least you have two good players now.
yeah. Well, I just said you could probably make Logan Jones a guard. I think just
I'd feel
because.
better about Logan Jones at guard than Jake Slaughter at guard, at least,
Yeah,
if nothing
like that's
else.
the thing. Like,
But also just
just
take a fucking guard.
yeah, there were plenty of them there. Still, like I know that a lot
just
of them
take a
went.
guard.
Or at that point, move back from 22 and take Basantis, and which would have made the
Yeah,
most sense for them,
yeah.
especially like for McDaniel, and then just use your next pick on one of the million other edges that were in this class that aren't 25.
Alas, Chargers continue to do some interesting stuff. Any other confusing names you want to get to
No,
before we finish off
I
with
only
our
have
worst?
one left, but I have an honorable
Yeah.
mention worst that I
Okay. I
have
have
same
one
grade.
that I want to talk about. Yeah, and then two that are honorable mentions. So I'll let you go first here. See if there's one of my.
So I'm sure this is one. The fact that it didn't come up on confusing, we definitely both have this one. The Seahawks.
Yeah, they were like fifth on my worst list because I love Jadarian Price. Okay. I
32.
love Jadarian Price. 32 is still a lot. They probably should have just traded down and taken him later. I think they could have. And two, you only have so many picks in this class. And you backed yourself into a corner because you don't have a running back that can play right now. So you had to take a running back that can play. And they did that. But I'm not going to give them credit for that because they did it to themselves by not just paying Kenneth Walker when they could have. That should have been what they did, at least for a year with a tag, if nothing else. So there's that. Bud Clark at 64 is fascinating.
Yeah, Bud Clark at 64 might actually be worse than Price at 32.
Well, here's the thing with Clark. I get the thought process with them because they want that big like ranging safety that they're losing with Bryant gone, and I get that. And Clark is a good fit for that, but it's just like 64 is a really high pick. You didn't want to trade back from that pick and get some like you didn't want like. Was Bud Clark going to go that early if they didn't take him? I don't know.
I can't. I mean, I had a 4th round grade on him. Like, he's an undersized 6th year senior. Like, it's just hard to get excited about him at 64. Like, that's rough. And then Julian Neal at 99. Again, like, I think I had a 5th round grade on Julian Neal. Like,
big,
decent player.
Hey, they're type. They're type. I'll give them that.
Yeah. I mean, Bo Stevens in the 5th round's all right.
Fine.
Fine. Yeah.
Emmanuel Henderson, they took a punt gunner in the 6th round.
Yeah. Kind of rough. Yeah, a guy that's like only going to play specialty. I mean, 6th round is kind of where
that's fine. It's just weird
if he's going to be like a special teams captain.
Sure,
but like
it's just
if
funny.
You're taking a gunner, a pure special teams gunner in the 6th round, then he better play for a decade and be a captain on your special teams unit.
By the way, that pick that they use on Emmanuel Henderson Jr. was also had by it was from Detroit via Cleveland, Cincinnati, and the Jets. So nobody wanted that pick either.
Yeah, clearly, and that's how you end up taking Emmanuel Henderson Jr.
You know, Andre Fuller, I thought was draftable.
Who?
Andre Fuller, I thought was draftable out of Toledo. Devin Eastern, who's that?
I looked into him. I mean, from what it seems like is he's just a big old Minnesota boy.
I can respect that. Michael Dansby, the only Arizona DB not draftable, but was drafted somehow.
Who's that?
Michael Dansby.
Yeah.
So there's that.
How was Arizona's defensive backfield really that good this year?
I guess, but also I don't know anything about Dansby, so he might just be drafted because they're like,
Yeah.
this guy looked okay, and it's like maybe it's just because he played with like all the day two defensive backs.
Yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know.
they had 3 safety nickels get drafted in this class.
Hey, could work if you could get it.
Like, it's such a weird niche position, and they had three guys that basically all are essentially nickel safeties. Stukes, Smith, and Dalton Johnson, who we didn't really talk about much in this, like, at any point in the show.
Yeah.
In any of the shows. But yeah, like all 3 of them in the same position. Weird. But yeah, that Seahawks draft is just bad. Like,
I think it could have been a lot better, but and if it wasn't for the fact that I like Price a lot, it would have been definitely one of my worst ones. But it was definitely questionable, if nothing else.
I would
Um,
have liked Jonah Coleman. Just like you could have just waited and gotten any of like Jonah Coleman or Nick Singleton or Mike Washington at the end of day 3. Like there were.
well, here's the thing, though.
At the end
To
of day
me,
2,
yeah, none of those guys are starting running backs, in my opinion. I don't think any of them are. I think they're borderline like number 2 running backs, in my opinion.
but they're a committee
So,
team anyways.
but right now they have nobody because the guy that they want to be the starter without Walker's not going to be there to start the season, probably. So, like, and they want to run the hell out of the football. I don't think their running back room was good enough to just draft a guy that could be part of a committee, in their opinion. And for me, the only guy outside of Jeremiah Love who isn't that type of player is Jaron Price, in my opinion. I think he can be the lead of the backfield. Has he gotten the chance to prove that? No, but he also played with the best running back in college football last year. So
Yeah,
how would he?
taking a first round pick, using a first round pick on a guy that you have no idea is going to be a lead back is just insane to me. Like,
It's tough, but I would have liked them to trade down and take. But I would have taken him in as early as the late 30s, early 40s. So if they
yeah,
trade back, I would be good with it. But
that's fair.
it's still
Personally,
low.
I'm like a lot lower on him, so I get
I
that.
know, yeah. But like for like, I think a running back like him should go in the second round, not in the first round. But they backed themselves in the corner. Frankly, I think
Yeah,
is what happened, which that is their own fault at the end of the day. Another one I want to throw out there, 49ers.
yeah,
Um,
they were right around. Actually, I'm trying to remember what grade I had on them. They were weird. I thought I had them actually. Yeah, they were like middle. They had a C grade from me. So
yeah.
yeah,
So I liked Deshaun Stribling a lot more than we did as a group overall. 33 is nuts. That is
yeah,
so aggressive. Because he's also like ideally, if he's used to his maximum, not a player that I think Brock Purdy's capable of maximizing. Because at his core, he is a vertical receiver, and I don't think Purdy has the
I don't
ability to
know.
do that. Like I'm like at his best, he brings the vertical element on top of the other things he does, and I don't know if they can tap into that in the traditional way that with Purdy as the quarterback. So that's a little weird to me. So that like, but again, I think that that's not like the worst pick in the world. Romello Height, it's around early for me, but they need
Yeah,
that type of pass rusher, so it's like whatever. They did the thing again. That's one of the reasons why I'm so mad at them because they did this thing they do, and it's taking a running back in the third round for no fucking reason. They burned a third round pick on a running back that probably would be the fourth running back on the depth chart right now.
yeah, they love doing that.
And they love doing it and they can't stop doing it. And I didn't even dislike Kalen Black, but he's a sixth round pick.
Yeah,
And they took him 90th overall.
probably wasn't
90th.
even the best Indiana running back.
Might not be. Exactly. I don't know. And he was 90. Roman Hemby didn't get drafted. And Black was the 90th pick in the draft. So there's that. That's an issue. They've reached on all 3 picks by some margin so far. Grayson Halton, totally fine in the 4th round. I did get to Carver Willis, and I did like him a lot. I love that for them. I think he can be a center or guard potentially for them if he wants to transition to center, but definitely a guard for them. Fits their outside zone scheme. I like that. Price Hawk at that range at the end of the 4th round, fine. I watched Jaden Duggar a little bit because he was a visit with the Steelers. I did not expect him to get drafted maybe at all, but definitely not this high, but he's interesting. Definitely a guy worth looking into. He's like 6'4",
Yeah.
like 240 pounds. He's
That's a fun
fascinating.
pick, yeah.
So like I don't have a problem with that. And then Enrique Cruz Jr. simply don't know anything about him. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they had an above average day 3.
They did, but the first 3 picks, man, just reach after reach after reach.
Yeah.
And
like,
it's just
I like Stribling a lot, but like, man,
33.
I mean, yeah, you're basically saying that he's a first round caliber guy with that pick. Especially like did they move up to get him?
No, they moved back like twice in the first round.
That's right. They moved back and took him. Yeah, I just like, and then you also wonder like how much of like what he did was just the fact that he's a 23-year-old receiver playing against a lot of like 20-year-old corners. And like, and again, that was part of why I had, a late 3rd round grade on him. Like, there's a lot that I like about him, but like, that's a gritty receiver that you hope can be your that you hope could blossom into like a pretty good number 2 receiver. Probably like a number 3, number 2, at least like a number 3 right away that maybe eventually is the number 2 on a team. But like, you don't spend pick 33 on that. You just don't. And
you certainly don't. Bad. And I had him. Like for me, right? I got to him late, and I had him at 59. Because I get why teams liked him, and I get why the Niners liked him, but it's still like a full round early, and it's a guy that like I don't know how you maximize him. Like the best version of him, to me, is a guy that is a true vertical threat with his ability to get off press and his speed, who also can take advantage of that by being able to break off routes into the middle of the field. He needs to work on that element of his game still, and he's definitely going to be able to do like the crossers and all the shit that the Niners like. But ideally, he's a vertical player. I don't know if Brock Purdy's the type of quarterback that can maximize a traditional deep threat receiver, right? And if that's the case, you're probably limiting his ceiling by default by playing in the offense he plays in. And you can find guys that can do all the other stuff besides the vertical element, one later in the draft in this class, and are just better at the things that the Niners do well, right? Like or tried to do. So if they're trying to reinvent this offense a little bit, I can get down with that. But I don't know if I can get down with that with this player at this spot and also with the quarterback that they have. So it's just a weird fit. Yeah. Like that's the thing with it. So yeah, they were definitely weird. And then the only other team I wanted to throw out, it's not that it's bad. This is why like they kind of didn't really fit anything, but like I'm not so much confused. I'm curious how it's going to work out. The Vikings.
That's fair. They were a secret for me right in the middle of the pack.
Taking Caleb Banks at 18 is just scary.
Yeah.
It's scary in both ways. Like scary because I'm worried he won't play, but also scary because if he does, Brian Flores might make him a monster. So that's the trade-off, right? Is like if he plays, look out. But also, this is a 327-pound man who has 2 broken foot injuries in the past 2 years. That's a little concerning. So that's kind of all I really have to say with that pick. The Jake Golday pick is fascinating to me because I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with him. But also, it was a little early for me.
A round or 2 early.
Yeah, at least a round or 2 early, probably. For me, it was about 20, 30 picks early. But I'm fascinated by that type of player with them. Love Big Citrus, of course. Gotta love Big Citrus.
But you already took Caleb Banks.
But I think they took him because they took Caleb Banks. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's kind of the issue here. At that point,
just take Big Citrus or just take someone else.
Right. That's they tried to kind of have their cake and eat it too, which is fascinating. Again, they did need a ton of interior help, but still, Caleb Tiernan is interesting in the 3rd round. I think the value is okay, but I do think that I don't know what to do with him because a 6'8" guard fucks with my head. Yeah, but that's what he's going to have to be, in my opinion. So like, it's just kind of weird to me.
My head says he's a guard. My heart says these Northwestern tackles figure it out.
Yeah, but like we don't know if all of them figured out because they didn't even let Skronsky try.
Yeah,
I
but
would
I
have
do
liked to see
think
them
like
try that, by the way.
Kiernan's
But
closer. Yeah,
so we'll see. We'll see. Jacoby Thomas, I'll be honest with you, he's someone I should have gotten to, didn't get to. Don't know. But third round feels like a reach from what I've heard of him.
yeah.
So that's interesting. Max
But
Bredesen is a
wild that
fullback,
he went
so
ahead of. Sorry, wild that Jacoby Thomas went ahead of Keontae Scott though.
that's weird. And I didn't even like Keontae Scott that much. It's still weird to me. Um, Charles Demings is a nice flyer because he's athletic, but
Yeah.
went to Stephen F. Austin, which, don't do that, Stephen. Damone Claiborne, the running back out of Wake Forest. I thought that was really nice value because he's just explosive. Dalton just got what I said, so that's fine. Took him a minute.
It took a second, and then it took a second for me to like decide it was funny.
Yeah, you're like, wait.
Yeah,
Like shit.
Yeah.
And then Gavin Gerhardt, don't know anything about him, but I guess line depth is fine. Just a weird
Fifth round
class.
pick on a fullback is interesting.
What's going on with CJ Ham? Is he still hamming it up in Minnesota right now?
I don't know. He's got to be old.
He's got, probably like 30 something, right? You'd imagine. Feels like I've been talking about
CJ
CJ Ham for a
is
long time.
32. Yeah,
32?
year old, and I feel like that's very old. Like that's a dinosaur for a fullback. I feel like
Probably. What, CJ Ham, what's he up to? Is he even on a team?
Yeah, he's still the Vikings fullback. I think.
I don't see him on their depth chart. It's just got Max Bredesen. Are you telling me CJ Ham is a free agent?
Oh no, or he might be.
Did he retire?
He might have
Yeah,
retired.
he retired.
Okay, that
So
makes sense.
they had to replace the Ham man.
But like, I don't know anything about Bredesen. Is he like legit?
I don't know. He's
Because if you're gonna spend that kind of a pick on a fullback, they better be really good ass fullback.
well, let's see real quick.
6'2", 252. What did he run?
Oh boy.
That's what I need to know now.
That's a fullback though.
That is a fullback if I've ever seen one.
If I've ever seen one.
4.75 according to some reports. I don't know if he did like a actual pro day.
Let's see.
Oh, 4.75 according to Draft Buzz, and that's an estimated time.
Max Bredesen. Let's see.
He's listed as an inline on Draft Buzz. He's listed as an inline blocking tight end.
That's what he was technically, but
yeah,
technically he's only,
I mean, too small to be an NFL blocking tight end.
Oh, I think he's too short in this situation.
Yeah,
Not too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna try to find out if I can find his actual time.
I don't know if he did like actual like pro day measurements.
I don't know. But yeah, he's a fullback, so taking him in the 5th round is interesting. I kind of didn't feel like Kevin O'Connell really did as much with CJ Ham as guys before him did. So I
also found out why he didn't test. Sorry.
Oh.
I found out why he didn't test due to a foot injury.
Man, they love their foot injuries.
So
someone call Rex Ryan. Get a look at these feet, folks.
They spent a 5th round pick on a fullback with a foot injury.
Love that for them. Yeah, the Vikings had a weird draft, man. That's kind of sums it up. Any last thoughts you have on this class?
I had one last honorable mention. Worst draft team because I had the same grade on them as the Chargers. The Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah.
That was not a good draft. For a team that like seems like they're right there. Who is Tyler Oniedem?
I did get to him late, and I thought he was a fascinating day 3 developmental defensive tackle.
And they took him at 66.
First pick in the draft for them. Actually, they took him at, was it 66? Yeah, it was
Yep.
66. I thought it was 69. Well, which I was going to say nice, but it was wrong.
Yeah.
They
were
took your
almost
boy
a
Jonah
weird-
Coleman.
Yeah, the problem is, like, I think Jonah Coleman, one of his best traits is his patience and vision, which would make him great for a zone scheme, not Sean Payton's gap scheme.
You're not wrong.
Like, that's kind of part of the issue there, is like the fit doesn't make any sense. Had they taken like Mike Washington, like the Raiders and Broncos should just trade.
Flip running backs. Yeah, flip running backs.
They should just trade. They should just
Talk
trade
about
Mike
the
Washington
two
for
most
Jonah Coleman.
different people on planet Earth.
What's that?
Talk about the two most different people on planet Earth.
And they both went to teams that
probably not best.
Don't actually run an offense that works for their running style. And it's going to probably screw both of them up. And then, like, Cage Casey in the 4th round, I mean, that could be, like, that's a good depth offensive lineman piece for them.
Yeah,
but again, it doesn't. You'd like to get at least one guy that, like, really makes your team better. Like, get Bo Nix. Like, the problem is they didn't really get Bo Nix any weapons. I mean, Justin Jolie.
I like Jolie a lot, so I like that
Yeah.
pick. But he's not like a actual like difference maker, probably in my opinion.
No,
like,
and is he really gonna like?
Him and Ingram are funny together.
Is he gonna just? Yeah. Is he better than Evan? Is he gonna beat Evan Ingram out?
Probably not. He might be able to replace Evan Ingram at some point for cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because I had him as a 3rd round talent. I like him, but he's very specific in the way that he plays. So like, I don't know. Again, I just don't think the Broncos did anything to get better in this draft.
No.
And like, you were one quarterback injury probably away from appearing in a Super Bowl. Now you would have gotten your shit kicked in by the Seahawks.
It wouldn't
most
have been
certainly
better than what New
most certainly would have gotten your shit kicked in. But you were one not having to play Jarrett Stidham away from, or even just good weather potentially away from making the Super Bowl. And this is the draft you come up with. Now you did bring in Jalen Waddle, which I do think makes sense. But also, again, Bo Nix, kind of.
What did they trade their 2nd round pick for? Or was that
they traded back. They traded back from.
Okay.
That's why they're 66. Yeah, they traded back in the 2nd and the 3rd round. Bills came up and got Davison Igbinosun.
Yeah. But also,
yeah.
After that injury and seeing what Jarrett Stidham did with that team, you didn't think to maybe take a quarterback on day 3.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, just weird.
This would have been a good
case. I don't really understand any of their decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really get it like that. None of it made sense. Red Murdoch's really fun as Mr. Irrelevant. That's probably my favorite pick. I'm glad he got drafted.
Me too. He's probably not fast enough to play linebacker, but he'll hit the shit out of you.
Or cover. I think he'll be a freak in preseason though.
He might force 3 fumbles every year without playing defense. That motherfucker hits the shit out of people. What the hell is his
people so hard?
What is his deal? he's not even that big either. He just hits the shit out of people.
That man plays with hate in his heart.
He does hate everyone who plays. I think he must say some awful shit about them to himself before he goes out in the field. He's got the Bobby Boucher shit going on. They're just all telling him Murdoch sucks instead of Water sucks, and he's just fucking annihilating people.
The XFL, he hate me guy.
Oh yeah, the he hate me. Yeah, exactly.
Who? Rod Smart. Yeah, he's
Rod Smart. Yeah. Incredible pull.
That was.
I do.
That jersey is iconic.
Yeah. I do want to shout out real quick the Washington Commanders specifically because they drafted my boy Ethan Kaliak-Manis in the 7th round.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's my boy.
I like their draft a lot, actually.
Yeah, so Wells at 7 is sweet because you didn't have to do anything. You just kind of got to you. Yeah. And then Antonio Williams wouldn't have been the receiver I took there, but also he's probably going to be at least good. So it's like, all right. I know you like Joshua Josephs a lot. I feel a lot better about him drafted where he was than I would have if it was like a
Yeah.
second round pick. So I like that. Katron Allen, Fat Man, best nickname of all time.
Yeah. I
No.
like that for them at that pick. I like that as like another like piece to that committee.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he's the definition of like a really quality committee piece.
Him and Bill Krosky Merritt might be the most fun like nickname / skill set duos in the league
with
next year.
Austin Eckler mixed in there.
Is he even gonna play this year? Is he because didn't he like tear his Achilles last year?
That's what I'm wondering. But then
He's
again,
gotta
apparently you
be
can just play on that after 11 months now. Apparently,
right, but like he's like 30, isn't he like 30 something? I don't know, man. It might just be Bill and Fat Man out there.
Oh, he's not even on the roster. Never mind. No, they brought in Rashad White.
Oh yeah, Rashad White, Katron Allen, and Bill Krosky Merritt is certainly
and Jerome
a fun
Ford.
backfield.
They have Jerome Ford too.
Get Jerome Ford out of here, dude. When he's not running past fucking I don't even remember his name from the Steelers corner that just like watched him score a touchdown a couple years ago. And when he's not playing the Steelers, he can't play. He's worse. He's terrible. But no, that backfield.
They also brought in my boy Robert Henry Jr. as UDFA.
Oh, is it UDFA?
Which I actually think Robert Henry Jr. I do think might actually be hot take here. Might be right away be the second best running back on that team.
Oh, well. I don't know, man. We'll have to see. I feel like it's probably not where he should have gone because they have like four guys.
Yeah. Did you ever get to watch him against Texas A&M?
I didn't. No.
All right. I might make you do that after the show.
I mean, I can at this point. I don't care. It doesn't matter now anyway. But I can watch him. I'll definitely be watching the preseason and see if these guys do anything as well. But that does bring us to an actual good point here because I would have liked Jake to be here for this a little bit, but basically the only thing I know for right now is that after this episode, we are going to take a pretty decent break from this show to let everyone kind of chill out, have a break after grinding through draft season. And then at some point in the near-ish future, this show should return. I don't know yet whether we're going to lean into full-time draft stuff and start getting into like maybe a summer scouting type of deal and getting ready for the 2027 class and following that throughout the year. Or are we going to transition like we have in years past to more of an NFL focus show up until the end of the NFL season or really the end of the college season and then jump into the draft again? But in some shape or form, the show will return and we will talk about that more in the future here. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but unless you have anything else you want to bring up, Dalton, then we can kind of put a bow on the 2026 class and get ready to watch these guys play actual football for the teams that drafted them, which is always the fun part, of course. And we'll kind of, like I said, we'll be back at some point in the near future, and you can still catch us, obviously, on Wednesday nights for the betting show. That's not going anywhere. It won't be going anywhere. And then, again, this show will return in some form or fashion in the near future. So thank you very much for watching, and